stranger at the door told me I had a twin brother. It was a quiet Tuesday evening in the middle of fall, one of those rare evenings when nothing in particular seemed to be happening. I had just returned from work, tired but content with the day's events. The sun had already set, leaving a soft golden hue over the city, and I was looking forward to a night alone, away from the usual hustle of life. I lived in a small, cozy apartment in the city center, a place that felt like home after a long day of work. I had always preferred solitude, and this evening was no different. I sat down on the couch, a half-eaten Chinese takeout box beside me, my phone in hand. The TV was on, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. The sound of the background noise was comforting, like the hum of the city outside my window. I was in my own little bubble of routine, scrolling through social media, liking pictures, checking messages. It was one of those mundane nights when everything felt perfectly ordinary. Then the knock on the door came. It wasn't a knock that felt routine, no polite tap 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 or the usual knocking cadence. This one was sharp, urgent, like someone needed to speak to me immediately. The sound pierced through the calm of the evening, and for a moment I froze. A strange, almost instinctual feeling of unease washed over me. Who could it be at this hour? I wasn't expecting anyone. I got up from the couch, walking slowly toward the door, unsure of what to expect. I peeked through the peephole, trying to catch a glimpse of the visitor before opening the door. All I could see was the outline of a man, but it was hard to make out details through the small, circular lens. There was something about the figure that didn't seem to fit. He looked like an ordinary man in his late 40s, dressed casually, but his presence felt out of place. He was standing still, almost too still, as if he were waiting for me to open the door. I hesitated. Should I open it? Should I ignore him? Something told me I should, but another part of me wanted to walk away from the door entirely. But curiosity, that annoying little voice in the back of my mind, urged me forward. Slowly, I unlocked the door and opened it a crack, peering at the stranger. "Can I help you?" I asked, my voice coming out a bit more tentative than I would have liked. The man didn't immediately respond. He just stared at me, his eyes searching my face, almost as though he were trying to make sure I was the right person. There was an odd tension in the air. The man had dark hair and a rugged appearance, as though he had been through a lot in his life, but his eyes were what caught me off guard. There was a depth to them, a look of someone who had seen things that couldn't be explained. "Are you Alex?" the man asked, his voice soft but with an underlying urgency. I blinked, surprised. "Yes, I am, but how do you know my name?" The stranger looked as though he were considering something for a moment before speaking again. His gaze never wavered from me, and he seemed unusually intense, as though everything he was about to say was incredibly important. "I know this is going to sound crazy," he began, his voice quieter now, almost like a whisper, "but you have a twin brother. His name is Ryan. He's alive, and you've been looking for him your whole life." The words hit me like a physical blow. I took a step back, my mind struggling to process what he had just said. A twin brother. I didn't have a twin brother. I had grown up as an only child. There was no other sibling in my family. My parents had always told me I was their only child, and I never once questioned it. The idea of a twin was absurd. "What?" I asked, my voice shaking slightly. "What do you mean? This doesn't make any sense." The man took a deep breath, as if preparing himself for the next part of what he had to say. "I know this sounds insane, but I have proof," he said, pulling out a small, worn envelope from his jacket pocket. He handed it to me, and as I took it, I noticed that the envelope had my name written on it in scrawled handwriting. The full story is on my channel, or at the link below.